Hello, my name is Steve Tresida and I'm currently working in the Mumbles area of Swansea with a small fellowship which meet at Castleton Chapel. I'd just like to give you one verse from the Psalms. It's Psalm 71 verse 18. It says this: "Even when I'm old and grey, do not forsake me, my God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your mighty acts to all who are to come." Now, I suppose I can identify with the old and grey bit of that, but I'd like to tell you why that verse means something special to me, but I'll come on to that a little bit later. For a significant amount of my Christian life, I've worked among children, especially children of primary age. And at the present time, I have links with a number of our local schools. I love talking to children and have had enormous pleasure from spending time taking them through what to us are familiar Bible stories. But it's not just the pleasure I get from this sort of work. I also strongly believe that this age is a vital one where we need to start teaching them what the Bible has to offer us. Unfortunately, in all too many churches, children's work is relegated as being a sort of optional extra. We'll do it if we can find the resources. We'll do it if we can find someone who isn't busy doing something else. I happen to think that work with children is a vital part of any outreach, and we neglect it to our loss and the loss of the future church. A few years back, I was at a conference, and the speaker there said to the audience, "Would you please stand up if you came to faith in Jesus before you were 16? And I would estimate that around 80% of the congregation stood up. I was one of them. Now, he said, keep standing if you came to faith before you were 15. And a few sat down. Now 14, and a few more sat down. And he went down 13, 12, 11, 10. Each time a few more people sat down, but by the time he reached 8, there was still a significant number of people standing there. Looking at the whole of the audience, he said very slowly, "I would invite any of those standing to tell me if they think that working with children is unimportant." Of course, in my generation, there were well-attended Sunday school. There were children's meetings, as they were called, and there was plenty going on for children. But these things have declined in so many churches. And sadly, so many have not become innovative in keeping outreach to children active and effective. In doing so, we have removed a means of giving children a solid foundation to base their teenage and adult life on. You know, those years are an important time of building when these little children make so many formative decisions. But to come back to my verse, the real value of teaching children really came home to me about 20 years ago. My wife Gwyneth and I had just returned from Pakistan. We'd been sent home unexpectedly, but that's another story. And we were praying about which way we were going to go. We'd been working in Murray Christian School as house parents, and we were at a bit of a loose end. We didn't know where God was leading us. To cut a long story short, a friend of mine introduced me to a thing called Bible Explorer, and I decided to do the training. While I was on the training, I found it quite interesting, quite challenging, and something I knew that God wanted me to do. But it was on the last day that something happened that has stuck in my memory ever since. The trainer, Paul Stallard, sat us all down in a circle, and he read that verse to us: "Even when I am old and grey, do not forsake me, my God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your mighty acts to all who are to come. And then he told us this little anecdote. He said, I was watching a race. It was a relay race. And I was standing at the handover point between the third and fourth runners. As I stood there, the runners came round the bend. And for some reason, my gaze was fixed upon the one who was in third place. It was obvious he was tiring. He was losing ground. And with a last effort, he reached his teammate and slapped the baton into his hand. And his teammate was gone. He ran. And with a fantastic burst of speed, he overtook the two in front of him and cleared the tape with a good 2 meters lead. Now, sometimes, said Paul, you may feel like that third runner. Tired, losing ground, beaten. Remember that God has other runners lined up. Some may only be children now, but they are our future. And some of them may run better and faster than we ever have or ever could. Moses had a Joshua. Elijah had an Elisha. David had a Solomon. Even the Lord Jesus spent 3.5 years teaching and training a group of men that would take over when he returned to heaven. Who do we have? He said, maybe some of those little kids you'll see sitting on the floor in front of you in assembly or sitting in class doing Bible Explorer will one day take up the baton. And one day they will accomplish something truly amazing for God. But to do that, we have to teach them. I started doing Bible Explorer, and many times the words of Paul came back to me. Sometimes when I got home after doing a double session, feeling utterly exhausted, I thought, did that accomplish anything? It was a number of years later. I was now living in Swansea, where I am now, and I was invited to go into the local prison to take the Christian Union there. And the people that were there in the Christian Union were various ages, ranging from one lad who was probably just about 20 up to some quite old people. And we did the little service, and as they were walking out, the young lad stopped and he looked at me and he said, I remember you. He said, you came to my school. You did Bible Explorer with me. I remember that. He didn't tell me why he was in prison. He'd obviously gone wrong somewhere. But there was an interest there. A foundation had been laid, and now he was going through Bible studies. We don't know, do we? We don't know what effect our words have. It's a sowing. And one day, God will raise up the new runners. And they may be some of the ones that we have taught as little children. There's value in it. Paul Stallard's words gripped me that day. Although I've been involved in children's work all my life, I've never forgotten those words because they give me a freshness in my perspective. Let's not relegate work amongst children to an add-on extra. Let's make it a vital part of our outreach in our churches. Let's invest in the next generation. Let's tell them of the power of God and his mighty acts, and pray that God will use them for his glory. Thank you for listening.